My name is Daniel. This story happened back when I was 17, during one of those summers that feel endless, but at the same time unbearable. I was working at a small pizza shop in a quiet little town in upstate New York. I didn't love the job. The uniform smelled like grease no matter how many times I washed it. The floors were sticky, and the delivery car they let me use rattled like it would fall apart at any moment. The only upside was that it wasn't my own car taking the beating. And I'll be honest, the pizza itself was awful. Cardboard crust, watered-down sauce, rubbery cheese. To this day, I can't figure out why anyone in their right mind ordered from us. But because the food was so bad, the nights were usually dead quiet. We'd sometimes go an hour without a single order, which made the shift drag like you wouldn't believe. I thought that night would be just another boring one. I was wrong. Around 9 p.m., I was restocking sodas when the tablet buzzed with an online order. A large sausage and olive pizza. That caught my attention immediately, because we almost never had orders with olives. The delivery address was even stranger. It was outside our usual zone, way out on the edge of town, where the houses got sparse and streetlights disappeared. I was about to cancel it when my manager, Russell, waved me over. Russell was in his 30s, always scrolling on Reddit in the back. He glanced at the screen and said, "Take it. We need the run. It's been dead all night." So I did. When the pizza was boxed, I grabbed it, typed in the directions on my phone, and headed for the car. That's when I noticed the delivery instructions stapled to the box. They read, word for word. Park on the street behind the house. Walk through the backyard. Knock on the back door only. That gave me pause. Why would anyone want that? A paranoid spouse? Kids not supposed to eat pizza? A broken front door? I told myself it was nothing serious. After all, it was better than folding boxes for the rest of the shift. The drive took nearly half an hour. The further I went, the darker it got. No streetlights, just my headlights on the narrow road. When I pulled up, I realized I was already behind the house, exactly like the GPS had routed me. The yard was overgrown, the fence sagging, no porch light, no cars in the driveway. The place looked abandoned. Still, I followed instructions. I parked, grabbed the pizza, and climbed the hill toward the back door with my flashlight angled at my feet. When I got there, I knocked once. Silence. Knocked again. Still nothing. Just as I raised my hand a third time, I saw the curtain in the little window twitch, like someone had brushed it aside with their finger. I froze. Someone was definitely standing right behind that door, watching me. Before I could decide what to do, headlights filled the road behind me. 2 unmarked cars pulled up right next to mine. A man stepped out and waved me over. My first thought was that I was trespassing, but as I got closer, I realized he was flashing a badge. He was an undercover cop. "Head back to your car," he told me. "Stay there." Confused but obedient, I did as he said. Sitting in the delivery car, I watched as more men emerged from the shadows. 5 at least, all with flashlights, circling the house in silence. Not one of them knocked or shouted police. They moved like predators closing in. One officer tried the back door handle, the same one I had just touched. Locked. He nodded, then stepped away. It felt like I was watching something I wasn't supposed to. My heart hammered as the first officer returned to my car. He crouched by my window and glanced at the pizza box. With a sigh, he told me the house was under investigation. He didn't give details, just that I needed to leave immediately. I offered to show him the order, name, phone number, address, but he just scribbled the info down and repeated, "Leave. Now." I drove off, pissed that I'd wasted nearly an hour for nothing. But as the miles ticked by, anger was replaced by fear. The timing was too precise. The curtain moving, the silence, the police showing up exactly when I was about to hand over the pizza. What if the cops hadn't been there? What if I had walked through that door? The truth is, I'll never know. Maybe I was being used as bait. Perhaps the person inside ordered the pizza just to see if the house was being watched, or perhaps something even darker was waiting for me. All I know is, I never took another out-of-zone delivery again.
My name is Michael. I'm 40 years old now, married with 2 young boys, and I work in insurance. My life is boring by most standards, but boring is good. Boring means safe. But last summer, at a beach house in North Carolina, I learned the hard way that safe is just an illusion. The house had been my father's. He passed away a couple of years ago after a long battle with cancer. I never spent much time there while he was alive because he rented it out year-round. After his death, it came into my name. It is nothing fancy, an older place just a block away from the boardwalk, but it became a sort of family tradition. Each summer, my wife, my 2 boys, and I would stay there for a week or 2. The kids loved it more than anyone. They'd spend hours digging in the sand, riding bikes around the neighborhood, and playing hide-and-seek in the house. It felt like my dad had left us a gift, a place where memories could be made. But one night last July nearly destroyed that illusion forever. It was a Wednesday. The boys had spent the whole day on the beach, and by 9:30 they were knocked out in their rooms. My wife and I sat on the upstairs deck with a bottle of wine, playing cards and listening to the waves. That's when my older son, Ethan, padded out onto the deck in his pajamas. "Dad, I can't sleep," he whispered. "They're scratching in my room." I exchanged a look with my wife. Old houses make noises, creaks, groans, drafts. I set my glass down and told Ethan I'd check. His room was downstairs. I walked with him, telling myself it was probably a tree branch scraping the siding. But when we stopped by his bed, I pressed my ear against the wall. At first, nothing. Then, faint but clear, scratch, scratch, scratch. It wasn't random like a mouse or a squirrel. It was steady, intentional, and then I heard it, breathing, slow, heavy, human breathing, coming from inside the wall. I jumped back, blurting out a curse I didn't mean to say in front of my son. My pulse hammered as I pulled him out of the room. Before I could even get to the stairs, a scream erupted behind us. Not just any scream. It was guttural, animal-like, filled with rage. I snatched up my younger son, still asleep, and bolted upstairs with both kids in my arms. My wife looked at me like I was insane until she heard it too. Another scream, closer this time, and then we saw him, a man, filthy, wild-eyed, his hair matted, charging down the hallway toward us. He looked less like a man and more like some creature dragged out of the woods. His skin was smeared with grime, and his mouth twisted into something between a laugh and a howl. I shoved the boys onto the deck with my wife and slammed the sliding glass door just as he lunged. His body hit the glass so hard I thought it would shatter. He clawed, shrieked, and smeared the door with something dark, blood, dirt, I don't know. His eyes locked on mine as he pounded over and over. I threw my weight against the glass, praying it would hold. Behind me, my wife clutched our sons, shielding their eyes and ears. Minutes stretched like hours. He didn't stop, didn't slow down. It felt like he had endless strength. My arms shook as I pressed against the door, ready to fight him if it gave way. Then, just when I thought I couldn't hold on anymore, flashing lights, sirens, 2 officers burst into the house. One tackled the man from behind, the other helped restrain him. His screams turned to incoherent rants as they dragged him out. The rest of the night was a blur of questions, statements, and police radios. But the true horror came when we discovered how he had gotten in. There was a crawl space under the back porch, hidden unless you knew where to look. From there, it connected to a narrow passage along the foundation, which opened into a loose panel inside my son's closet. The detective told me the man admitted he had been living in that crawl space for months, eating scraps from trash bins, sneaking food from our house when it was empty. And that night, he finally decided to come out. When the detective explained it, my stomach dropped. He hadn't just been squatting. He had been watching us, living just feet away from where my children slept. We didn't go back for the rest of the summer. I couldn't even bring myself to. Later, I hired a crew to seal every possible entry point with concrete and steel. This year, we returned and things seemed back to normal. But whenever I sit on that deck at night, I still hear it. That slow, deliberate breathing in the walls. And sometimes, just as I'm drifting off to sleep, I swear I can feel eyes watching from the dark.
My name is Claire, and for years I avoided telling this story. It wasn't here because I doubted what I saw. It is because even now, when I close my eyes, I feel like I am back there on that hill staring into a night sky that should have been beautiful, but turned into a nightmare. It was the summer of 2018. My best friend Jenna and I had just graduated high school. We grew up in a small town where nothing ever happened, so we were desperate for something, anything, that felt like an adventure. Jenna had this old Jeep that always smelled like campfire smoke, and one Friday night, she convinced me to drive up to a hill just outside of town to go stargazing. "It's a clear night," she said. "No light pollution. We'll see everything." She was right. The hill was high, overlooking fields that seemed to stretch forever. When we got there, we spread out a blanket, lay on our backs, and looked up. The stars were so bright it almost hurt. The Milky Way spilled across the sky like a river of light. At first, it felt magical. We laughed, made dumb wishes on shooting stars, even tried to point out constellations we didn't know the names of. The night grew, too, quiet. At first, I thought it was just my imagination, but the crickets, the wind through the grass, even the distant hum of traffic, it all seemed to fade away. The silence pressed in on us, thick and unnatural. Jenna noticed it too. She sat up, hugging her knees, scanning the fields below. "Do you hear that?" she whispered. "No," I said, but that was the problem. There was nothing to hear. And then, movement. Across the field at the base of the hill, a figure stood, still, watching. He wasn't holding a flashlight. He wasn't moving, just a shadow against the darker dark. My first thought was that it was a farmer, maybe checking his land. But as my eyes adjusted, I realized he was facing us. "Claire," Jenna hissed. "He's staring." We scrambled to pack up, but something in me froze. I couldn't look away. The figure didn't move closer, but he also didn't leave. He just stood there, head tilted, like he was studying us. Finally, Jenna yanked my arm, snapping me out of it. We threw everything into the Jeep and started down the hill. My hands shook so badly I could barely buckle my seatbelt. That's when the headlights caught something in the grass. Another figure, closer this time. He was crouched low, almost animal-like, and when the light swept over him, his eyes glowed. Not like an animal's, like a person's. Jenna screamed and floored it. The Jeep bounced down the dirt road, rocks spitting from the tires. My heart pounded so hard it hurt. I twisted in my seat and saw both figures now, running up the hill after us. They didn't run like normal people. Their movements were jerky, unnatural, like they were being pulled forward by strings. We didn't stop until we were back in town, parked under the fluorescent lights of a gas station. Only then did we realize how badly we were shaking. Jenna's face was pale, her hands gripping the wheel so hard her knuckles had gone white. We told ourselves it was just locals messing with us, some cruel prank, but neither of us really believed that. Because the next morning, when Jenna went to leave for work, her Jeep wouldn't start. When she popped the hood, she found something tucked inside. A folded piece of paper. No writing, no markings, just a crude drawing of two stick figures lying on the ground, and above them, drawn in thick black ink, were stars. That was the last night Jenna ever drove out of town for anything. She refused to go near the hill again, and honestly, so did I. We lost touch after graduation, drifted apart. But every once in a while, when the night is clear and I look up at the stars, I can't help but wonder, who or what was waiting for us on that hill? And how did they know exactly what we were going to do that night?
Don't forget to subscribe because there are more stories like this, waiting to be told.